Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. This is take two of this video. I actually did take one outside. It did not work really well. So we're going to go with a second take on this. And I'm sitting here at my desk, and now I am using OBS Studio. So I actually created a nice little Readathon banner here for the bottom that you're looking at. We've got all my books loaded up in a queue over here, and then I have the list of the classes that I need to talk about over here on this side. And anything that I reference, any other videos that I reference, I will put the links up here in the cards when I upload to YouTube. So we are going to talk about my progress today on the Magical Readathon. It is the 15th of August, so we are halfway through this year's August equinox semester for the Readathon. So I just want to make sure that we're talking about all the different books accurately. Um, I am talking to you about the books that I've read, the books I still have yet to read, books that I may be thinking of swapping out at this point in the readathon, and so we'll get into all of it. I'll do little mini book reviews too on what I thought of the books. So if you're interested, great, stick with me. I will go through everything as well as I can. I'll put links for all the books in the descriptions. Some of the books have Kindle Unlimited options where you can read them on Kindle Unlimited for free. So I'll make sure and indicate that in the description as well so that you don't feel like you have to purchase anything if you want to buy the book. And then also I'll give you a link to sign up for Kindle Unlimited if you want. You can right now, I believe, get a full month free of Kindle Unlimited. So if that's something you're interested in, that link will be in the description. So let's get right into it. The Magical Readathon. For me, I study alchemy. Um, I am studying, my character in the Readathon is studying to be an alchemist. If you want more information on that, again, I will put the link to where I created the spread for the Magical Readathon up here, and you can find that information there. What that means for my character is that I have to read 14 books in the month of September. Now, 14 books is a really lot of books to read in one month. And I like to read, but I usually don't get that many books in. So I utilize scrolls and things like that in order to read a little bit ahead, a little bit after, and maybe swap out some books for other things that I'm reading. So we'll talk about all that. Uh, the first books that I read this year uh, were Rebecca Yaros's Fourth Wing trilogy. Right now it's a trilogy. I know there's more books coming out, but right now there's only three. So we're going to get right into it. We're going to start with Fourth Wing. Fourth Wing is the first book in the series. It is a really good book. I will indicate right here. I'll put a little oh, let's see, maybe not. You know what? I'm just going to tell you because I don't want to have to edit this. It's getting pretty late in the day because I've done this twice now. Um, I'm going to give spoilers. So if you haven't read the book, this is the first one in the series. So if you haven't read the book, I'm going to give mild spoilers, not huge spoilers. But this book is about a society that has magic in it. Um, there are dragon riders in the society, and we follow the main character on her attempt to become a dragon rider. So she is looking to get into the academy to become a dragon rider. She is not physically who you would think would qualify for the dragon riders, and so she is constantly having to adapt, which is one thing I really like about that, and it's the reason that I chose this book to be uh, my book for astronomy. So right here in astronomy, invisible stars for the ordinary level. This needs to be a character with an invisible illness or condition. And so this character has lots of invisible conditions. She has a lot of physical ailments that she's constantly dealing with throughout the book. Now, granted, she gets to deal with a lot of them through magic and magical healing, but she does suffer through a lot of them as well. Uh, this is kind of your typical high fantasy with a brooding male involved. She is, of course, attracted to the dark horse, the bad boy, and the person that she ultimately really shouldn't be attracted to. There's all kinds of romantic tension. There's reasons why they shouldn't be together, but of course, we all know how that's going to turn out. In this case, uh, the male is a pretty good male character. I liked him as a character, but he does do a lot of the very cliche things, like he smirks way more times than any man I have ever met smirks. He smirks an awful lot. He's you know, standing casually in the doorway, leaning against the door frame, things like that a lot. Um, he has a lot of kind of your typical male characteristics. Um, but also has a lot of layers of complexity, and I do like that about him. He is a good male character, and I think that he's well written. Um, Sometimes you have women writing male characters, and the male characters feel a little too feminine. I don't think this is the case with this one. So I liked Fourth Wing enough that I ended up reading the next book in the series, which is Iron Flame. So Iron Flame, spoilers ahead. I'm going to have spoilers for Iron Flame and for Fourth Wing uh, in this particular segment. So fast forward to Onyx Storm if you want to avoid those. Um, but in Fourth Wing, we start to have consequences of the real world that enter the academy. And so we start to learn a little bit more about what's going on in the greater world. So this was actually a good continuation book. I liked it. A lot of times, second books tend to be fairly weak because you're kind of setting up the larger story in a second book. This second book is not. It is actually a very good book on its own, and it does have a lot going on. A lot of times with the way story beats go, um, when authors try and stretch them out over a lot of books, a lot of times those middle books don't have a lot of consequences to them. This is not the case with Iron Flame. Iron Flame does still have a lot of consequences to it. So I really did enjoy Iron Flame as well. I used this book for my distinguished alchemy, and that is the distinguished alchemy is the flavor enhancing tricks is the prompt, and that means that it needs to be an auto buy author. And what an auto buy author is means that when the book comes out, you're automatically buying it because of the author. Now, for me, I want to read this whole trilogy, so I'm automatically buying the books. And so for me, that qualified as an auto buy author. I don't know that I necessarily want to read all of her books because she does have other things outside of this series, but I actually like the series enough that I'm willing to give all that other stuff a go. So she has kind of become an auto buy author. I haven't purchased anything yet because I have a lot on my to be read list and I don't need to be adding a lot more, but she is somebody that I will keep in mind when I do need to find something new. So we'll move on to the next one. The next one is Onyx Storm. Spoilers again. If you have not read Onyx Storm, I'm going to talk a little bit about that and Fourth Wing and Iron Flame. So Onyx Storm, you finally take the characters out of the safety of the academy. You bring them out into the real world We're dealing with real world problems. We are no longer in school. This has real world consequences, and it's a great book. This book came out this year, so it actually qualifies for my spells and incantations. You see, I believe that's on the second page of this. Uh, Nope, it's still on this first page. So spells and incantations here at the bottom of this first page. Um, this is the qualifying book, which the prompt is current spell trends, and that means it needs to be a book that was released this year. So Onyx Storm was released this year, and so it does qualify for uh, a release this year. Because it released this year, I had to purchase it in, or would usually have to purchase it in hardcover. Now, I like to read paperback. And so you'll see here, I am holding in my hand a paperback version of Onyx Storm. Um, this is not out in America in paperback yet. In America, we tend to release these big books that are released by publishers in hardcover format, and then they come out in paperback eventually, usually at least 6 months later. I didn't want to wait 6 months. I wanted to read the book right away. So I ordered it on Amazon. I'm going to provide you the link that I used below. It is an international edition. I don't believe there are any differences in the story, but that is something to note. It is an international edition. If you want just the regular US edition, you have to buy it in hardcover right now. And you can do that also on Amazon, but that's going to be a different, it's going to be a different link. So anyway, I have Onyx Storm. I read it. I liked it. It was great. I'm looking forward to the next book in the series when it comes out. Hopefully, it will be available through an international publisher again. You do have to wait a little bit when you buy it in paperback because it is shipping. I believe mine shipped from India. And so it does take a little bit of time. And with the new tariffs, it's often more expensive than the hardcover. But for me, I want to keep this book in my collection. I don't want a hardcover book. I want the paperback version, and I don't want to wait 6 months to a year to get it. So it's worth it for me, or it was at the time. We'll see when the next one comes out what my work situation is and whether I want to spend that kind of money again. But for right now, I got this way earlier in the year, and it was worth it. Uh, Also, the next book I'm going to talk about is Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. This book I have mentioned a couple times. You probably see it whenever I'm doing my Ellister method. I am reading it with a friend. We are marking up the pages and talking a little bit at a time. This one I started actually last year. I am still reading it. I am actually going to quickly go through and skim read the rest of the book before the end of September. But I'm going to continue with my in-depth discussions with my friend uh, going forward. We probably won't finish those until the middle of next year because we're going very slowly. We're taking about a page, maybe 2 pages at a time, and that's it. We are exactly halfway through. We are on page 85 of 170 pages. And so one of the things that I think is interesting about this book, Marcus Aurelius's Meditations, is a well-known book, especially for people studying Stoicism, philosophy. It is a discussion book. Whether you're having those discussions with somebody else or you're having those discussions with yourself, it is not a book that you're going to sit down and casually read and go, great, this is a wonderful story, or even, great, this is wonderful advice. Um, as much as it does have a lot of great advice in it, it is not going to be a book that you're going to just sit and read and not interact with in the greater scheme of things. You're going to want to have conversations about this in a journal. You're going to want to have conversations about it with another person, something like that. You're going to want to talk through it, and it will have a lot more meaning for you if you do that. So that's my recommendation on this book. Have somebody to read it with or get a journal so that you can have those conversations with yourself. Make sure that you're doing that. For the readathon, I am using this particular book as my lore. So lore is on the next page. So here we go. For lore, for the O level, ordinary level, Forgotten Tongues, a translated book. So obviously Marcus Aurelius was ancient Roman, and so uh, Meditations has been translated from Roman, Italian, Roman, ancient Roman, and to modern English. Uh, so it qualifies as a translated book. Now, in order to use these four books and one other as September reads, even though I started reading them before September, I had to purchase some scrolls from the Guild Emporium. Now, you don't spend real money to purchase things in the Guild Emporium. You get something called Guild Reputation Points. So when you participate in live streams, she has a lot of live streams. You can earn points that way. You can also earn points from in previous readathons. Every time you finish your semester, you get points. If you read your guild book, you get extra points. So there are a lot of different ways to earn points. I always try to make sure that I have at least 100 points in my account when the autumn equinox semester starts so that I can purchase things like scrolls that allow me to start the book early or to have a book that I started early or read earlier in the year. And so that's what I'm using for the four books that we discussed, uh, and one other, only because I did read those ahead of time. And so we're being legit. I've purchased 5 scrolls for 50 points total, and I'm using those for this readathon. Uh, the next book that we're going to talk about, this is the last one that I did use the scroll for, and that is One Golden Summer by Carly Fortune. Now, this is probably the complete opposite of a Marcus Aurelius book. This is a very casual, fun summer read. Um, it is a very good beachy read. It's a light romance, lots of fun. Um, our main character goes to a lake house with her Nana, and it is just a charming town, a charming group of characters, and a really lovely read. There's nothing complex about the language. It is not, a literary masterpiece, but it is an entertaining book, a great story, and something that you'll enjoy reading for a casual read. It is the second book uh, in a series. It is a sequel to something where we hear about one of the characters' brothers. Uh, I did not feel like I needed to have read anything before this in order to read it. However, um, apparently there is some information in the first book that does pertain to this second book and make it so that things are a bit more obvious. However, I didn't really find anything surprising in this book. I knew kind of where it was headed. It was fairly predictable. Sometimes I like that in a nice summer read, and so this was enjoyable for that. So One Golden Summer is my uh, for spells and incantations. So we will go back here, bottom, spells and incantations. Uh, that is for the ordinary level, charm or luck. You had to roll a dice, and you needed a book that was in that page bracket. So if you roll a 2, you need a book that's in the 200 page bracket, 200 to 299. If you roll a 3, you need something that's 300 to 399. In my case, I rolled a 4, and the book, when I was looking online, is 401 pages. So it qualified for that. The paperback version that I have is a little bit less, but the Kindle version is what I was looking at when I was doing my research. And so I'm going to go off of that because it said it was 401 and that met my requirements. So I did purchase the book, and I did read this ahead because I went to a book club meeting last month, and this was the book that we discussed. So it was important to me to have read the book. I didn't want to have it in my waiting to read list, and so that one got read ahead of time. Uh, the Little Paris Bookshop, I just finished this past week. Uh, this book I picked up because I was watching Ryan and Haley Trahan do their 50 States in 50 Days on YouTube earlier this year. And Haley mentioned that she is a booktuber. Now, I didn't have really any experience with either of them on YouTube. I just found that series and was interested in that series itself. But I thought it was interesting that she was a booktuber. I didn't really know what that was. So I went to, since I read a lot, that intrigued me. I went to her YouTube to look up what a booktuber is and what she does. And in the video that I watched, she was looking for recommended reads to read before she went to Paris or to read in Paris. And someone recommended the Little Paris Bookshop to her. Uh, when I went and looked it up, it's an Oprah recommendation as well. And I thought it sounded really interesting. So I did pick up a copy of it, and it was perfect for the readathon for um, the lore. So we go down to lore here. Uh, the qualifying level of lore, that's the second level, is ancient post. That's the prompt, and the book has to have a letter or notes on the cover or the inside of the book. Now, this particular book has clearly got a letter on the front of the book, and so this works great. I loved the thought of this book when I picked it up, the idea that it was a, an apothecary for books. The gentleman thought himself sort of a pharmacist prescribing books for different ailments. Um, and I thought that that was fantastic. It sounded like a great premise. In reality, I found it a little bit challenging to get through. I don't think that whole pharmacist of books, apothecary of books um, theme really heavy. That was kind of a side note that was mentioned occasionally, which was fine. But I don't think that I would. I think I wouldn't have been as interested in reading the book if I didn't think that that was kind of the main theme. The main theme of the book is a gentleman kind of finding his way back to himself after some very difficult situations, and the people that he finds himself connecting with along his journey to find himself. It is a physical journey as well. So there is a lot about France and different areas of France. So it is really interesting, but not for the reasons that I thought, and probably not something that I would be hugely interested in normally. Uh, I did uh, I did also struggle a little bit with the language. This is translated from German, and so a lot of times the way in which the sentences are put together or the way the characters are acting feels a little bit different to me. It felt a little bit off, and I didn't realize that it had been a translated book until I was later into the book itself. So once I did realize it was translated, that made a little bit more sense and bothered me a little bit less. But in the beginning, I was kind of wondering why it was such an acclaimed book when it seemed to feel a little bit off in that regard. Uh, Overall, I liked it. It was a good story. It was entertaining. It was not what I expected, not what I thought it would be, and really not one of my favorites of the summer. But I made it through, and I did not DNF it. So. This summer I turned pretty. Now, if you have Amazon Prime, I believe it's Amazon Prime. This is available as a TV series. Um, it is part of a group of books. The Summer I Turned Pretty, I believe, is the first one. Um, it follows a young girl. In the book, she is, I believe, 15, and follows her through a summer at the lake house that she's been going to every summer since she was a little girl. It's a good read. It was fun and entertaining. The book itself, I find the main character, Belly, to be a little bit more selfish and kind of narcissistic. um, she kind of rubs me the wrong way a lot in the book. The TV series I've also been watching, um, she is a lot less abrasive in the TV series for me personally. Um, I'm pretty far removed from her age group, that teenage age group where everything is so serious and so dramatic and all of that. And so maybe that has something to do with it. But I found it to be a really good read. There's some dealing with some family illness and all that kind of thing. So there's a lot of other points besides just teenage drama to the book. Uh, I enjoyed it. It was an easy read. It satisfied something that I needed and it was on my to be read list. Um, and so that's why I read it. The summer I turned pretty, I used for restoration. So right here, I only needed an O level book for restoration. That's the ordinary level. And it needed to be unbroken focused tincture is the prompt. And that needed to be a single point of view book. And so the Summer I Turned Pretty is a single point of view book. It did qualify for that. It was an easy read, nothing too challenging there. Uh, the Lost Apothecary. The Lost Apothecary I am using because of the prime numbers in the title. So let's count them: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. 17 letters in the title. I'm using this for my inscriptions. For the O level, the magic of primes, it has to be a prime number of letters, in the title. So this one has 17, it qualifies. That's what I'm using it for. Uh, this is my current Audible book. So I'm actually listening to it, not reading it. I used to listen to a lot of Audible books. That used to be a big thing for me. And I have not been doing that as much since I moved. This is only the second Audible book I think I'm going to make my way through this year. Uh, when we lived in northern Indiana, I had an hour-long commute to work every day, each way. So for that hour in the morning, I always listened to an audiobook, and I could get through a lot of audiobooks in a year. Now I'm not commuting anymore, and I don't really listen to audiobooks unless I'm in the car, so I'm not making my way through this very quickly. I am about a third of the way through. This story is interesting and intriguing, but really hasn't hooked me yet. And I think part of that is not the fault of the story. I think part of that is the fault of my not being in the car often enough to engage with the story often enough. And so long periods of time go by between, many days between when I'm listening. And so I'm not getting as involved in the story as quickly. It's all right. I'm not loving it. I'm not hating it. It just is what it is. It's a nice, easy listen, and it doesn't just distract me from driving. Uh, all right. Do it yourself Akashic Wisdom. I've sort of started this. And the reason is because this is a research book. So this particular book, I have it right here. I am not using this um, as a read per se. I'm not reading this for fun. Uh, the story that I'm writing, the novel that I'm writing, touches on the Akashic Library. And so I am doing research reading this particular book. I'm enjoying it, but it's a research book. It's not casual, fun reading book. It's research. I'm taking notes quite heavily. Uh, I'm making connections. It takes me a lot longer to read this than, casual, easy read. So I'm working my way through it. I should be done by the end of the month. It shouldn't be a problem because I do have other research books that I want to make sure I'm reading before I get to the point in my story where I need to start writing these things. For the readathon, this one is for alchemy for the O level, which is the first level that's ordinary. And it is liquid sunlight, and it needs to be a book with the sun on the cover. So I'm calling that the sun. It could probably be any star, but I'm calling it the sun for my purposes because I need to read this book and that fit the prompt. Uh, Next up, we have Serafina. I have not read this yet, but I do have it sitting here on my desk, ready to go. Serafina is some kind of fantasy novel. It does have dragons. It is the first in a series. Um, I don't really know much about it, so I'm kind of going into this one blind. I picked it though because for animal studies, here we go. Uh, I need an O for animal studies. That is this first one. And the prompt is hatchlings. And it needs to be a debut book. So the first book by an author. And this is the first released book by Rachel Hartman. And so that's what I'm reading. The reason that I picked this book in particular, I guess I could have picked several other books on my list, but I have a friend who has a book club. They are reading this for their September book club. So if I read it and get through it in time, I can attend the book club and I can have read the book and be ready to discuss. So that gives me the opportunity to go to another book club. I always love the opportunity to go to another book club. Uh, Next up, we have the Spell Shop. This one I am using for, I believe, I haven't read this one yet, but I believe I will be using this for inscriptions, which is here on the second page. Um, for the D level of inscriptions, animal taming runes is the prompt, and that means an animal on the cover. And so as you can see here, we have this little kind of dragon cat. I'm counting that as an animal. Uh, Dragon cat counts in my book. I'm not sure what that is. I have had the spell shop in my to be read reading list on Amazon for quite a long time, so I'm going to get to it this month. It looks cute. It has purple pages, and who wouldn't love a book with purple pages? If you haven't noticed, I am a big fan of purple. My chair is even purple. So we're reading the purple page book at some point, and I think it will be this month. And I do believe that it is on sale right now. I'm not sure if this is the first in a series or anything like that, but it might start off something. So we'll see. Fresh by Margot Wood. This was completely not on my radar at all whatsoever. Um, it is supposed to be funny, which makes it an easy read for me if it is in fact funny. It is supposed to be a very modern book, but a modern retelling of one of Jane Austen's stories. Um, the reason that I chose this book was because of the cover. So I needed, again, for inscriptions, for the Q level, that is archiving as the prompt. And what that means is you need a vertical spine title. Now, that's not common information. You can try Googling vertical spine title on a book, and it's very hard to find. I used ChatGPT. I typed in vertical spine cover. I got this book fresh, and I got a picture of the spine with the word fresh written vertically. So, the F at the top, so that it was vertical. I'll show you what I mean. Most books, like Fourth Wing, the title is written horizontally. You want a title that's written vertically. Now, because fresh is so few words, I think that's probably why it's written vertically. But I did see a picture of a book with it written vertically. I don't know if it's that way on all books, but if there's an edition of it that has it, then that's going to satisfy the prompt. So because I saw it, I think that it will qualify, and I think that's what I'm going to read for that particular prompt. I don't know much about it, except it's supposed to be fun. Uh, this next book, The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches, has been on my list for quite some time. I heard it was good and funny and cute and just a nice, easy read. I don't like to stack my Magical Readathon with too many difficult books. As you can see, I'm only halfway through my books, and I still have about half of them to go. So I don't want to be having to pressure myself to read a lot of really, really difficult material. The material that is a bit more challenging, things like meditations and some of the research that I'm doing, I don't want, those are things that I'm doing on my own anyway, and I'm fitting in here. I don't want to stack my readathon with intentionally challenging books. So Very Secret Society of Irregular Riches, look like a nice casual read. I am using this for alchemy. So in alchemy, the qualifying prompt is blossom properties, and that means the cover has to be in your birth flower color. My birth flower colors are blue and purple. My birth flower comes in a couple different colors, and those are the colors. So I figure this book kind of has it all. So it should qualify just fine for that. Ali Abdal's Feel Good Productivity is another one. This is for demonology. So if we look here, I need to have just an O in demonology. That prompt is impling outbursts. Implings are fun little characters in the readathon. And what that prompt means is that there needs to be an emotion in the title. So feel good seems like a good enough emotion to me. Um, so that is the book that I'm going to read for that. I believe it came out earlier this year, and it's been on my to be read list since he started talking about it long ago. I have followed Ali on YouTube for quite some time. I enjoy his YouTubing style, and so I thought that it would be really nice to read his book when it came out. Uh, Next up, we have A Sorceress Comes to Call. Now, you're not going to find this on my syllabus because this is actually my guild book for the Magical Readathon for the autumn equinox. Uh, if you are in a guild, there are 4 different guilds that your character can be part of. And if you are in a guild, then your guild will have a special book. If you read that book, your guild gets points, ultimately for bragging rights, I think, at the end to say that the most people read the book. Um, you also get an extra 10 points for reading that specific book. Now, usually you get 50 points for the whole semester, so getting a whole extra 10 points just for reading one book is actually quite nice. This year, the book that was selected was A Sorceress Comes to Call. I have it in hardcover, which I don't really like because I'm not a huge fan of hardcover, but we're going to survive it. But here it says on the back that it is a dark reimagining of the Brothers Grimm's The Goose Girl. I have heard there are a lot of trigger warnings for this book. Uh, I don't particularly find anything too difficult to read, but if you are sensitive to certain things, make sure that you look up the trigger warnings. There are a lot of people who are fairly disappointed in the chats on Discord because of all the triggers in this book. I guess it's a bit dark for some people. Um, I'm looking forward to it. We'll see what it has to offer. I don't know really anything more about it than that. All right, so now we're going to get on to those. We've completed all the books for the Magical Readathon. We're actually going to move on to a couple books that I read that aren't part of the readathon in September. I read this book last week, The Crone of Midnight Embers. Uh, I loved it. It was a super easy read. It's under 200 pages in the Kindle. It's on Kindle Unlimited, so you can get this book for free. If you're a Kindle Unlimited member, you can read it for free. Uh, Super easy read. It is the first in what is going to be a 6-book series, the Myrtlewood Crones. The 5 books are out. The 6th book comes out early next year. I am definitely reading the other 4 books, or then ultimately 5. Uh, I am going to read the rest of them in October, but there was a book club that I wanted to go to on the weekend, and they were discussing this particular book. So I read it last week so that I could be ready to discuss it at the book club on Saturday. Um, one of the things that you can do in the Magical Readathon is you can purchase scrolls to swap out books. Uh, so I could potentially use this as a swap, but the other thing is I could use this because it does have blue on the cover. I could use this particular book for my Birth Flower book. So that would mean that I would not, in that case, read The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches, and I would instead substitute this because I've already read it. Uh, I might do that. I might not. I would still like to read The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches, so we'll see. Um, we'll see how it goes, but I'll leave that towards the end of my reading for the month because, again, I do have a backup. So uh, I'll leave that one as one of my last reads. Then we also have The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. This one I just started. I am only one chapter in, but I'm going to finish this one this week. There are 2 book clubs in the area that are discussing this particular book this month. And so I wanted to be able to participate in the book clubs. And again, I don't like to go to a book club when I haven't read the book. Just a personal thing. A lot of people will go when they've only read part of a book, or they haven't, or they're just interested in a book, or maybe they just want to go socialize. If you're one of those people, nothing wrong with that at all. I am just not one of those people. I want to have read the book and be ready to have a conversation about it. So I'm going to read Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I will finish it this week because the first book club that's discussing it meets on Saturday afternoon. And so I want to be ready, or Sunday afternoon. So I want to be ready to discuss it. I have on my calendar that I need to be done with it by Friday because we have a lot going on Saturday. So I want to be ready with that one. And this is another one that I may swap out for something else. I am thinking because I currently have a nonfiction book that I'm working through, this might end up substituting for Ali Abdal's book because that's going to be a bit more of a challenging read and something that I really want to spend some time with. And so I feel like this might end up being a swap for that, but I don't know for sure. Um, we'll see how the month goes and how the month plays out. The last book that I have read this month is The Unfortunate Side Effects of Heartbreak and Magic. I read that because there's a book club that is meeting again to discuss this one locally, and I realized about halfway through that I've already read it. So I read through it very, very quickly just to kind of get the meat of the story again so that I'm ready to discuss it because I believe I read it last year. And I think I listened to it on Audible last year. I don't think I actually read it. And so uh, I physically thumbed through it, looked at it, but that is also a book that I've taken care of this month. So this is another one that I can swap out for something. One of the books that I don't have yet. Um, I'm considering my swap books to be the books that I don't own. So this is possibly something that I could swap out for maybe Fresh, because that's not at the top of my to be read list or anything like that. I only picked it because of that vertical title. So this might swap out for that. We'll see. Anyway, that is where we are on the Magical Readathon. It is a lot of reading. We talked about a lot of books. Um, I am, like I said, about halfway through. I have 7 books read. I have 7 more to go, and I need to also read the book that for the guild. So technically 8 books, but I do have 3 in my pocket that I can substitute out. And then if I need to, you can buy continuation scrolls. So if you need to, you can continue your book after the readathon ends, very similar to starting it ahead. So you would just purchase some scrolls in order to do that. Um, you can also spend 50 points and just not have to read at all for the semester. And all of your books are counted. I would rather spend the individual points to do the scrolls one way or the other, because I think it's just a lot more fun to participate. I'd like to check into the Discord and participate on the Discord and things like that. And I don't feel like I can do that as much if I just buy a scroll and write off the whole semester. So I try to not do that. Um, so, I have a couple extra backup books ready to go. I have quite a few that I've already read. I'm definitely going to hit my 25 books for 2025 this year. Um, between the Magical Readathon and then in the month of October, I would like to finish. So if we go back here, the Crown of Midnight Embers, I want to finish the rest of this series. Those are all available on Kindle Unlimited. And then there are some characters that appear in the Myrtlewood Crones that are part of the Myrtlewood Mysteries series, which is another series also by Ira Spiegelhole. Um, and so I would like to read those as well. There are 9 of those. There are 5 currently of these, so that makes 14 more books. I've read one, so I guess 13 um, for the month of October. So that's my plan for October, is to just really kind of heavily focus on this. I'm not going to love the fact that it's all on Kindle and I won't have physical books for that, but I think I will live and my bank account will be happy since I'm, missing out on income right now. So I think that's a win-win for everybody all around. So even though I prefer a physical book, we're going to get through these series next month. So thank you for joining me for my check-in halfway through the Magical Readathon. I will again post here and let you watch my spread, my Readathon spread, if that's something interesting to you. I don't know if it'll let me link it twice. So if it doesn't, it'll be linked in the cards. Um, and you can see me set up the spread in my little book here. So I have this spread that I'm filling out. Uh, sticking the stickers on for all the different books that I've read. You can follow me along and uh, watch me make that spread in my planner. If you'd like, I will do one more check-in at the end of the readathon, and we'll talk about all the books that I finished that I didn't really review this time. So we will really just quick touch on the books that I've already discussed, and then I'll do quick reviews of the others. So that one should be a bit shorter. I think we're calling this at 50 minutes. So thanks for joining me for my Magical Readathon mid-month check-in. I hope that you're enjoying the Readathon if you're participating. If you're not, and you just like to read and we're joining me for that, to find some new book recommendations, thanks for joining me and tell me what you're reading in the comments below. I would love to hear what everybody else is reading. My to be read list is constantly growing and evolving, and I love hearing about new things that people enjoy. Uh, Hopefully, this gave you a few new ideas for your to be read list as well. If you're not a reader and somehow you made it this far in the video, kudos to you. Pick up something and start reading, even if it's just getting a free trial of Kindle Unlimited and grabbing something over there. I'll again be sure to note in the description which of the books are available on Kindle Unlimited for free. Um, so if that's something that you're interested in, uh, you can get it for a month for free, a free trial, and that way you can read a whole bunch for free in the month. And if you don't like it, then you can always cancel at the end. Thanks for joining me. I will talk to you tomorrow. Bye.